Welcome back. In this last lecture of this section, we are going to learn about the last step in active listening process, which is responding thoughtfully. In active listening, you only respond after you have fully understood the message. Responding thoughtfully means that your response is based on the speaker's experience and their intention of having this conversation, and not just your own thoughts and perspective. Now let's break this a step down into practical actions. The first action is acknowledging the speaker's experience. Before anything else, show that you understand and validate their experience. For example, you can say things like this: "It makes sense," or "I can see why that would be frustrating," or "It sounds really challenging." It doesn't mean you agree with everything. It means that you recognize their experience as valid. But you may ask, what does it even mean to validate an experience? What if we disagree with their point of view? That's an excellent question. Validating an experience means that based on what we have learned and understood so far from the speaker, including their beliefs, thoughts, values, fears, desires, needs, and the situation itself, it makes totally sense what they are experiencing, even though we may not experience the same in the same situation. And if yet it doesn't make sense to us, it means that we need to understand and learn more about them and the situation itself. And the mindset here is that people's experience is always valid. If they don't seem valid to us, it means that we do not understand them well enough. But it doesn't mean that their experience is not valid. They may have a belief, emotion, or need that you are not aware of. For example, someone may say, "I cannot wake up at 5 in the morning. It's really hard for me." But you may think with yourself, "But that's not that hard. I'm doing it for 2 years now. We just need to sleep sooner and change your routine." But maybe they have a hard time sleeping sooner because they love watching TV shows with their family at nights, and maybe spending family time is a value for them, but it is different for you. Or it can be a hard experience for them for any other reason. The reason and the difference is not the important thing here. The only important part is to acknowledge that this is a hard experience for them based on who they are. Then the second action is responding to what matters most. It means don't respond with the first thought that comes to your mind. Instead, respond to what is most important to the speaker, which, by the way, requires great listening for priorities, emotions, and not get distracted to minor details. For example, if someone shares a long story that the core message is, "I feel unappreciated," don't get distracted to minor details like who said what or why they have said that. Instead, respond to the feeling of being unappreciated. Show your empathy and offer your support. Now it's time to remember our lesson from lecture 3 of this section, which was understanding the full message, including facts, emotions, and intentions. We need to pay attention to the intention of the speaker for this conversation. Their intention is usually based on their needs and desires. Do they need validation, empathy, brainstorming, a solution for their challenge, or do they just want to vent? It is really important because sometimes people just want to talk. They don't need to be fixed. That's why understanding the intention helps us to respond thoughtfully to what they need and not based on our own perspective and thoughts. Also, one more important tip here is that you should only offer your opinions, advices, solutions, or suggestions if they are welcomed. This is where many people go wrong. They assume if someone shares a problem, they want advice. But the reality is that people often just want to be heard and understood, and they just want to process their own thoughts and feelings. Before telling them your opinion or giving advice or sharing anything from your own word, just ask them, "Would you like my thoughts on this? Do you want suggestions, or you just want me to listen?" This shows both respect and emotional intelligence. Another common mistake people usually do is that they jump to the fixing mode very quickly and they say something like this: "You should just call him," or "You should just do this solution." Or often they make the conversation about themselves and they say something like this: "That's nothing. I had it worse last week." Believe me, these kinds of answers break connection and trust even if people don't tell you. We need to shift our mindset from what advice would solve their problem to what response would serve this person the most. Another mindset that helped me personally was that a great response is not about me looking smart. It's about the response itself should be relevant, respectful, and aligned with the speaker. Okay, now it's practice time. Please pick one of your next conversations and practice this. First of all, pause before you respond. Then, acknowledge the speaker's experience. Third, ask them if they want your opinion or advice. And finally, respond accordingly to what they need. Now I want to congratulate you. You completed the core steps of active listening process, which means you now know how active listening works. In this section, we have learned about the 5 steps of active listening process, which are preparation, staying present and receiving the message, understanding the meaning behind the message, reflecting back, and finally responding thoughtfully. But please be aware of this, that in real life scenarios, these 5 steps may not need to be happen sequentially as we expect them. What I'm trying to say is that you don't need to be attached to this formula. You can be aware of these steps and use them whenever you want until this process is your second nature. Okay, now I believe you have enough knowledge and tools to start practicing active listening. And in the next sections, we will focus on the advanced tools, skills, and mindsets that totally transform the quality of your listening, which personally I'm really excited for. See you there.